Hey everyone, welcome back to Northside Baseball. Ethan and Brandon here to continue talking about the Cubs, who are off to a really nice start in the 2025 season. They won the season series against the Dodgers. They're playing well against teams like the Phillies and the Padres and the Diamondbacks. All's been really nice to see. But the player that I really want to talk about and the player that Ethan and I have been talking about behind the scenes a lot is Carson Kelly, who obviously he is the sort of not the backup catcher. He's sort of the 1B to Miguel Amaya's 1A. But man, has he been unbelievable to start the season. I'll get into some of his stats in a minute, but especially Ethan, I know as a fan of Yan Gomes, I know you have plenty of thoughts to say about the Cubs' backup catcher.
Well, first of all, we made this whole joke about Yan Gomes when he became a free agent and he left the Cubs. It's like, oh my God, what are they going to do now? Me not knowing that that Yan Gomes is just kind of like a whatever player because again, my factual knowledge of Yan Gomes comes from MLB The Show when I was first learning about the Cubs. But whatever, that's a story for another day. But what I will say is when we started talking about Carson Kelly, this was last year. We were curious to see what was going to happen because we knew Miguel Amaya was the next, step up here. But again, like you said, Carson Kelly has really kind of like filled in the shoes here and has become this power hitting threat, home run king, and he also defensively is just crazy right now. So again, I think that the Cubs and Jed Hoyer have just done an amazing job, just like firming up so many prospects. And I think this season, again, I'm going to knock on wood right now, has looked so good for us. And I don't want it to go bad. But again, we're here to focus on Carson Kelly. So let me get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull stats from like a couple days ago, just because it just really paints how dominant he's been, and these are all updated with all the new metrics and stuff. But so as of like a day or two ago from the time of this recording, Carson Kelly had a 264 weighted runs created plus. He doesn't have enough at bats to qualify, but the player with the highest WRC plus in baseball at that time was Aaron Judge at 258. So Carson Kelly was 6 points better than Aaron Judge in that statistic. And then if you look at OPS, Aaron Judge again led baseball with a 1247 OPS at that time. Carson Kelly was at 1000 or 1413, 1.413. That is a 160 70 point gap between Aaron freaking Judge and Carson Kelly. Again, this is a small sample size. This is just a veteran who's gotten unbelievably hot. But it's worth pointing out that even the best players in the world don't get this hot. I mean, this has been a stretch of unbelievable baseball where Carson Kelly has been not just the best hitting catcher in baseball, but the best hitter in baseball through through his first 58 or whatever plate appearances. So it's really amazing to see. And I'm pulling more stats here, but he's got a 512 ISO, he's got a 552 WOBA. I know some of these advanced stats don't mean things to everyone, but like it all of this just comes together to paint a picture where Carson Kelly is playing out of his mind right now as the Cubs, sort of primary, secondary backstop. And Miguel Amaya is playing really well too. And obviously he's more of the defensive option, but yeah, it's just a test. Again, we talked about this a lot, Ethan, over the offseason, where the Cubs, outside of trading for Kyle Tucker, didn't make that move for that superstar player, right? There was plenty of guys they were tied to, Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Alex Bregman for a little bit. We hoped for Juan Soto, but obviously that was never happening. But whatever.
Whatever.
But the point being that, you know, they went for depth. And when a guy like Carson Kelly starts playing like a superstar, even for a small stretch like this, it makes the whole team deeper. And that's what I'm really happy to see.
I think the other thing to point out is, you know, it's a mixed bag of reviews, and you and I have had this constant, I don't want to say battle, but disagreeing back and forth. When Cody Bellinger left, people were very worried about who was going to be our next power hitting threat. And he went to the Yankees. All right, he's a bum, whatever, blah 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 blah. But what I will say is that again, I think that so many people so many players have filled the shoes and of being a power hitting threat. You could talk about Pete Crow Armstrong. You could talk about Justin Turner. You could talk about Nico Horner. You could talk, the list goes on and on. But again, Carson Kelly is just one of these, and it came out of nowhere too. Like you said, he was a veteran player and nobody thought anything about it. But again, it's so great to see. I don't know, where the luck is. I don't even want to call it luck, but where it's coming from. But I think it's just so great that it's happening. And when we started talking about where the Cubs are going to be in a few months, I'm starting to say, well, hopefully they'll make the wild card slot. screw the wild card slot at this point. I think they're going to make it way past that. But again, as always, we'd love to hear your comments, thoughts, opinions, whatever. Leave them in the comments below, and we would love to respond to you guys.